All right, we'll start for today. So there was a little bit left from the last session that we've seen. So those of you who have come for the first time, these are few of the things that we were discussing in the last class. Okay. So we're looking at the sounds of English, right, and within which we are mostly concentrating on the vowels and consonants. Um, then the voicing places and manners of articulation, long and short vowels. We've finished discussing on the vowels part in the last class. We looked at this um, speech production mechanism, which included the articulators and the cavities. I think I've already told you about this last class that the diagram may involve certain things which are part of the voice, the vocal tract. But then, because we are only discussing English sounds, we're not going to be looking at each of the articulators, right? Like, for example, you see something called uvula here, right? And you also see the pharyngeal region with respect to cavities. We're not going to be dealing with any of this in the discussion because we do not have sounds from the uvular region. Like uvula is an articulator, there is a sound that you can have, but in English we don't have that sound. Also, with respect to pharyngeal region, there are pharyngeal sounds, but not in English. So we're not going to be dealing with them. However, since they're part of the vocal tract, you will see them in most of the speech production mechanism diagram like this. Then we moved on to looking at vowels, right? This is what the major part of our discussion was in the last class, right? So, what is this diagram? This is called a vowel diagram, and this is basically a representation of your tongue, right? Because the production of vowel sound has mostly got to do with the placement of your tongue, the different positions of your tongue, whether it is raised or lowered or it is in the mid position, right? Vowel production mostly has to do with the position of the tongue because we know that vowels are sounds which are produced without any restriction, right? Without any obstruction of the airflow in the mouth. So, obviously, we are not concerned with other articulators like lips or teeth or palate or alveolar ridge or anything while we talk about vowels because it's anyway free flow of air, right? But what we are more concerned about while we talk about the production of vowel sound is the position of the tongue. Now, there's another thing that I told you that you don't have to worry too much about the left hand side distinction, right? Which is the high, mid, low vowel. That is not what we are concerned with. But for your knowledge and for the requirement of the course, it is good enough if you can distinguish between the front, central, and back vowels, right? So these vowels that you see on the screen, these are pure vowels, okay, or what are also referred to as monophthongs, right? So you have monophthongs and you have diphthongs. Diphthongs, like we discussed last class, they're combinations of two pure vowels, okay? So their vowel quality is a little different from the monophthongs or pure vowels because in diphthongs you slide from one pure vowel to the other. Like, say, for example, a diphthong like oi, right? It's a combination of O and E. So we slide from O to E in the diphthong oi, which is why it shows quality of both these vowels, right? Which is why diphthongs, combination of these two. Whereas in pure vowels, nothing of that sort. It's a plain pure vowel form. We have a total of 12 pure vowels in English. You'll see an additional vowel in this diagram, which is this one, right? The long E. This is the short E and this is the long E. And then there's additionally one more here. This one is very specific to this particular one. This is specific to English. But for our course, we are not even counting this. We are only going to go by the short E and the long E, which is this. Okay. This one is the long E where the cursor is now. This is the short E, right? Where the cursor is now. And this one, the one that you see beneath it, right? This one is a very specific vowel to English, but we don't want this. We are not going to discuss this particular one. Okay. So that's the only thing I wanted you to know. And then this one, right? This one is called what? It's called Shva. And this is the only unstressed vowel in the English language, right? Rest, all of them, all these others that you see here, they're stressed. We'll look at what stress means in the due course of the time. Right now, you don't have to bother too much, but let's just know that this one is the only unstressed vowel in English vowel system. Okay. Okay, so the long and short, like we discussed, it's dependent on the length or the duration of the vowel sound. But it is not as simple as it looks like, because a long and a short counterpart of the same vowel, they can produce difference in the meaning when they appear in a word, right? For example, if I have a word like sit and seat, right? The only difference between sit and seat is of that one vowel sound, right? One is a short vowel and the other is a long vowel. However, it results in the production of an entirely different word. Okay, you have two different words with different meanings, although the difference is just of one vowel sound, one being long and the other being short, right? So, which is why the distinction of the long and short vowel is important. Why is it important that we know what is a long vowel and a short vowel, and in which word, in the given word, whether you have a long or a short vowel, all these distinctions are important because of the reason that it can produce a very different word, a word with a very different meaning if you do not pay attention to the length of the vowel used. Okay. So that is what we're discussing. Then all of this part, the short E, long E, the A sound and the A sound, which is very specific again to English, like in the word cat, k, a, t, all of these E, A, and A, they're all what? They're front vowels, right? Which means mostly produced in the front part of the mouth or the oral cavity. Remember, all of this are relative positions, right? This is also something that I have discussed with you. And to understand whether this correctly captures the thing that you see in the vowel diagram, you will have to take a word with each of these vowel sounds and speak slowly to yourself. Okay, only then you can realize the exact position that is discussed in the diagram given here. And although we have had this diagram put together, the positions, always remember, could be relative. Okay. Right. So these are your front vowels, all these four. Then in the central position, you have the schwa, the unstressed, which is the sound. Then the long Okay, these are counterparts. One is long, one is short, right? This one is short and this one is long. So these two occupy the central position of the oral cavity. So they're called as central vowels. Then as back vowels, you're going to have the short and long oo, the o, short and long o, the a, the long a sound, and the sound, right? All of these form the back vowels. Okay. This is where we, I think, stopped last class. And then these tables, I'll share once we are done with this class, this particular PDF and the document with you. So you can take a look at this this table to understand how each of the vowel sounds are incorporated in words in English. Okay, so this gives you just an idea. I think Sir has also discussed with you about this in the live session, that you need to practice at least 5 words each in order to understand the sounds carefully, particularly the distinction between the long and the short vowel. Okay, for that purpose, when you're looking at it, you can just take this as a model table and add more words to it in order to understand, in case you're finding difficult to identify the sounds clearly. Okay. Same thing with this. It's just an extension of that. When you're looking at this table, please keep in mind that you don't have to go by these 4 distinctions. Okay, height, position, length, roundedness. This helps you to understand the sound a little better. But at this stage, since we're not going into the details of the features of each of the sounds, you can maybe strike this off. But just look at the examples again, the ones that are given here, so as to understand the distinction between the long and the short vowels. Okay, same here. Look at this: bit, beat, full, fool, errand, around, hurt, hot, cup, cap, right? All of this will help you understand the distinction between each of the vowels from each other, and also the long and the short distinction. Okay. All right. We looked at monophthongs. We also looked at diphthongs, right? So 12 um, pure vowels and then another 8 diphthongs, right? Diphthongs again, combinations of 2 pure vowels. So you have ear, the first one here is ear, E and a combination, then ua, then air, then a, then I, then oi, then o, and last one is ow, right? This one is a very commonly mistaken diphthong, especially see, look at the example given both, right? The usual confusion is that people use the O sound, the pure vowel O in English, not the O, the O sound. I've told you this also in the last class. Like, we don't have the traditional O sounds that you see in Indian languages in English, right? The one you have in English is O, not O. So we have a habit of using the O sound everywhere the moment we see the letter O in English. However, in English, the actual sound in a word like boat is the vowel involved in the word boat is O, which is a diphthong. Okay. There are many examples. So these are some points that I want you to make a note of and practice while you are doing the practice exercise. You will have to look carefully at some of the words which takes these sound in their word. And don't get confused with that sound, with this diphthong and the O, the pure vowel O in English. Okay. So that was one thing. Then now today, for today's class, we are going to quickly look at the distinctions in the consonant sounds. So that was the, in the last class, we discussed still diphthongs, and now we are going to look at the consonant sounds. Okay. So this one is easy. If you understand the mechanism of speech production, that is, from the time the air is pushed out of your trachea and it leaves your mouth, if you understand that path clearly, it is not very tough to know and understand the distinctions you see in consonants. Although it is unlikely that you're going to see any questions with any of these terms, but for the sake of understanding, it is always good that you at least know what they are. Okay, even if you're not going to answer them in the exams, or they are not very important from the exam point of view, by which I mean the terminologies, like bilabial or labiodental or dental. Maybe you won't see such things in the exam. However, it is important that you know these so that you can draw the
Ma'am,
distinction.
voice is too much cracky.
Sorry,
Your voice is not clear. It's too much cracky.
is it? Is that the case for everyone?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
No?
No, ma'am.
Okay, okay. Yeah, you please check your connection. I don't
No,
think
ma'am.
there's a problem.
No, ma'am.
Okay. All right. So these distinctions, you need to be a little careful about them, not in terms of knowing them or by hearting them or anything, because I can give you a guarantee on that you won't see these terms in the exam, right? Nobody will ask you what are the labiodental sounds and affricates and all that. However, please understand them so that you can know the sounds well. Okay, you can distinctly identify the sounds based on these explanations. Okay, so let's look at them. The first one we are going to, so what you see on your left hand side, right, that distinction that you see, the columns that you see, the rows you see here: bilabial, labiodental, dental, alveolar, palatal, velar, glottal. What is this based on? Can you guess? Places of articulation, right? So this is based on the articulators or the particular points in your oral cavity where the obstruction of the airflow happens, right? This we discussed, that sounds are produced when you exhale, and in the process of exhale, when the air is pushed out of your mouth, it gets restricted or obstructed at different points in the mouth. And depending on where the obstruction happens, you have different kinds of sounds. right? So the first one is bilabial, okay? Bilabial means, labia basically means lips, right? So bilabial, the one that includes both your lips, upper lips and lower lips, right? So which means when the air flows out, the obstruction usually happens at the lips, right? Then the air is pushed out. After that obstruction, the air is pushed out, and then you have the bilabial sounds. Okay. Remember, in all cases, no matter where the obstruction happens, the speech or the sounds are produced only when the air is pushed out. Okay. It's the difference is only about where the flow, the free flow of the air has been obstructed. So in case of bilabial, it is at the lips, the upper lip and the lower lip. So what are the sounds you can have? All of those sounds that you see here, okay? P, B, M, and W, right? P, B, M, and W, okay? All these four sounds are what? They're bilabial sounds. That is, they share a common place of articulation. All of them are produced by the obstruction of the airflow at the lips. P, B, M, and V. Okay. V, this may be something that is new to a lot of you. We have a habit of articulating this V sound represented using the letter W in English as V, right? So we don't, by which I mean we really don't distinguish between the spellings world, W-O-R-L-D, and V-A-N, right? If I am not wrong, right? We have a habit of using the same verb for van as well as world, okay? So for example, these are the two words we have, van and world. So there's a difference between the sounds word that you see in both of this, which is in world you have a bilabial sound, right? And in van, what do you have? If you look at the chart carefully, where do you find verb? Under labiodental, right? Like here. This is where you're going to see verb. So this sound and this sound are distinct from each other, right? This is usually not something that we pay attention to, but there is definitely a difference between both of this. The W sound, the letter W represents a bilabial sound V, okay? And the V, it represents a labiodental sound. Labiodental, there's an involvement of your, say V to yourself and see what is the involvement. V. V, your lower lip and your upper teeth, right? That is why labiodental, lip and teeth. So both are two different sounds. They have two separate sound qualities, although we do not make that distinction while we speak. So keep these distinctions in mind while you speak, especially people who keep telling us about, I need to work on my accent, I need to work on the way I speak, etc. You can pay more attention to such things if you think your way of articulation is confusing to others, or it is not that clear. Then you can, this will definitely help you to understand that distinction and then do it properly. Okay, so when you say that, both your upper and your lower lip have to be used. So world, okay, will, when, but van, vas, right? There's a difference between both of these. Okay, so pa, ba, ma, and va, you have bilabial sounds. Okay, all the four of them under the classification of bilabial. Then labiodental, you have f and v. Okay, both involves the use of your lips and your upper teeth and your lower lip, right? F and v. Dental sounds, th and the. This particular thing that you see, which looks like a theta sign from mathematics, this is basically th, right? Th sound as in thin. So th sound, and then the next one is the, as in the word then, THEN then, right? The. Alveolar sounds, this is basically when the obstruction of air happens at that hard part right above your teeth, right? You can feel it with your tongue if you want. The hard part that is behind your teeth, right above your upper teeth, that part is called the alveolar ridge. So alveolar sounds are basically the sounds that are produced by obstruction of air at that place, at the alveolar ridge. So what are those sounds? It's ch, d, s, z, n, l, and r. Okay, too many sounds. You have t and the, that both of them, then s, z, then n, then l and r. All of them are what we call as alveolar sounds. Okay. Palatal sounds, the one that is the part that is above your tongue, the roof of your tongue in the mouth, right? That hard part above the tongue. The roof of your tongue is what is called the palatal region. And when the air obstructs there, you have sounds like sh, z. See, look at this. This one, the sound is what is called sh, as in ship, right? Sh, then j, the one that follows it. This sound is very specific to the English language. You don't find it in many languages. J, as in the word pleasure. Okay, pleasure. Have you heard this word? Pleasure, right? Or even this one, leisure, right? So the sound that you hear there is not sh, like in the word ship. Okay, the sound there is not sh, it is j, and this one is very very common to English, as in it is more specific to English. This is not something that you find in other languages. So don't confuse this with the sh. This is a different sound, j. Then this one, the next one you see here, this is ch. Okay, as in chin, church. Okay. Next one is j, judge, jug. Okay, this one is j. So all of these, what are they? They are palatal sounds. And the last one in that set is year sound. Okay, university. The first sound in the word university is year. It is this sound, year, palatal sound. Okay. Next, in the place of articulation, you have velar. Okay, velar sounds. Where is velum? If you go back to your speech production and the vocal tract diagram, where is velum? Here is velum. So right behind your palate. This part is your palate. See, look at this. This is palate, which is the roof of your tongue. This part, this one, this hard part after your teeth or just above your upper teeth, this is called the alveolar ridge. This part is your hard palate or palate, simply palate. You can say palate instead of hard palate. And after the palate, right here, right after the palate, behind your palate, you have the velum, right? So velum, when the air obstructs at the velum, you have the velar sounds. And what are the velar sounds? So velum, as you can feel, it is located back, very back in your oral cavity, right? So what sounds? K, g. Okay, k, g, ng. Right? Remember the ng sound? What was it? As in the word ring. Okay, look at your chat. I'm writing a few words there. Ring, sing, or singer, right? Or even words like bring. So these are the combination of na and ga in these words, ring, sing, singer, bring, this is basically what? This is the sound nga, this sound, okay? The last one, the last sound in the word ring, sing, singer is not ga. Like a lot of us mistake it to be that. It's not ga. What is it? It is nga. It's a separate consonant. It's a distinct consonant. It's called nga. It's not ga. It's not na and ga. It is but this one, nga. Okay, that's also velar sound. So ka, ga, and nga, all three of them are velar sounds. Then the last one is the glottal sound, which is ha. Okay, produced when the air passes freely through the glottis. Okay, where is glottis in the diagram? You have here. See this part. Glottis. This part, the opening through which the air is anyway pushed out. Okay, so that's the glottal sound. Okay, so these are different regions in the mouth. These are the articulators, and all the sounds we are seeing now, they're all based on the obstruction on this part. This one, okay, all of these articulators, lips, teeth, tongue, velum, glottis, ridge, palate, etc. Okay, that is this distinction. Okay, now what is here on top? The one that you see on top, this distinction is based on manner of articulation. This is places of articulation and this is manner of articulation, right? Manner of articulation basically means when the air is pushed out of your mouth, there is a certain manner. There's a certain way in which that air is pushed out. Sometimes it is completely pushed out, right? Sometimes there is a friction and then there's an opening and then the sound is produced. Sometimes there's a free flow. So if it's a free flow, then it's a vowel, we know that. But if there is some sort of a friction in the way it is pushed out, then we call it fricatives. You can say the sounds to yourself and feel it, like f, v, right? There's an obstruction, there's a friction, and then the air is let out. The, s, z, t, j, h, right? All of this, there is a friction, right? And then the air is let out. What happens in stops? Why do we call them stops? There is no frictions, there's no obstruction. The air is trapped in the oral cavity and then it is released all on a sudden, which is why they're called stop. Like, for example, try saying p, b, t, d, k, g to yourself. Say p, p. What happens? It's like you're trapping the air in the oral cavity and then you're suddenly opening and releasing it out, right? Which is called a stop. So you stop the air and then release it, which is why it's called a stop. Okay. Now, that is stop, fricative, and then you have affricate. Affricate, there's a brief period of constriction of the air. For a brief period, it is held, and then it is let out with force. Okay, which is why it is called an affricate. So there's a small opening, very, very restricted opening. The air is held, and then for a very, very brief time, and then it is opened out with a force, which is why affricate. So words like ch, j. Okay. Next comes nasal sound. What is nasal sound? Nasal sound is when the airflow does not happen through your oral cavity. That is when the air is not pushed out of your mouth. Instead, when it is pushed out through your nose, right? It's called a nasal sound, right? You close your mouth, you restrict the air to flow out of your mouth. And then what happens? The air has to leave the space somehow, no? So it finds a way through the nose. And then in that process, you have the production of nasal sounds. What are they? Ma, n, ng, right? All three of them. Approximants. Approximants is basically when your tongue and your lip, they come close to touching each other, but they don't. Okay, right before they touch, they are withdrawn. That kind of sounds are called approximants. And in approximants, there's free movement of the tongue. Okay, so like try saying sounds like v, l, r, y. What do you see? Say it slowly so that you can see it. Say l. What happens? Your tongue almost, it looks like it's going to go and touch your lip, but it doesn't. Okay, right before that, it is withdrawn. Same with r. It goes still there, but doesn't touches. Okay, same for v. And then y, same thing. Goes very close, but it doesn't touch. Okay, this kind of sounds produced through the articulation in this manner is called approximate. So stop, fricative, affricative, nasal, and approximate. These are all sounds, distinction made on consonant sounds based on the manner of articulation. Okay, any questions you have here? This is all. We don't have to know anything more in this with respect to vowels and consonants. And even within this, you really don't have to know the names of all these distinctions. This chart in the lecture and here is only shown to you for your sake of understanding the sounds more clearly. Okay, I see some hands up. Let me see, just a minute. This is Urvashi. Urvashi, you can ask your question.
Yeah, ma'am. Ma'am,
Yeah,
please pronounce these two words again. Pleasure
Which
and
word?
laser. Pleasure, laser.
Oh, pleasure. Okay, pleasure and leisure. Okay?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, it is
And
ja. The sound is ja. I can give you one more word with the sound. You might have heard the word mirage. Okay? Mirage, right? Mirage, the one that you see in deserts, right? Mirage, the sound there is again not sh, it is r. Another one is prestige. Okay, we usually have a habit of saying prestige, but it's not prestige, it is prestige. Even the sound there is again j, not j.
Okay,
Okay.
ma'am. One more
Okay.
doubt.
Okay, go on.
Ma'am, in the lecture of professor, we
Huh.
saw one more manner of articulation, that is flap.
Flaps. Okay, huh. Flaps are okay. We don't need to know those distinctions so clearly, but yes, flap is also one distinction you can have here. Um, Flaps, they're not found in all kind of English. I mean, there are different kind of English. Flaps are usually something that you see mostly in the American English. But okay, since you asked, we can talk about that as well. Any other things that you saw?
No, ma'am.
No, only flap.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, okay. So, see, uh, flap sounds, they're mostly, see, la and ra are also examples of flaps, but then everywhere la and ra are not used as flaps. Okay. Only in certain, if you listen to the ra sounds that are produced in American English, they don't come out as ra that clearly, right? It sounds almost like ra, right? So this kind of curling of the tongue is basically called flaps, but we don't have to look at them since we are not going to look at different varieties of English. I think you can do without it, not a problem. Okay, it's basically a quality that you see in sounds like la and ra. Like the one that you see here as approximants. Approximants in some places are also called as flaps. There's a little bit of a variation in the way you produce flaps, like the one I told you. Like say in American English, when you say car, they say car, right? Have you seen this distinction? Yes, no? You here? This was Urushi's question, right? Urushi, are you still here?
Yeah.
Huh. So that distinction is basically referred to as flap. Okay. How can you make the flap sounds? It's you need to click against the upper part of your mouth. Okay. That is the definition or the description of the sound flap, but I'm not sure how much I can make you demonstrate it or anything. But just understand this distinction, okay? That's all.
Okay, ma'am.
Don't have to go deep into it. Just understand that approximants are also known as flaps, okay? The difference is that there's a minor difference in the way you articulate it, but that is more with respect to the varieties of English than English itself. Mostly in the American English. Okay.
Yeah, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Okay. I see Afra. Afra, you have a question?
Yes, ma'am. Could you please
Huh.
explain the dental fricative sound again, please?
Dental fricative sounds.
Yeah.
Dental fricative sounds would be th and the, right?
The and what?
The and the. Okay, the as in the word, let me type it out for you. So, the is the sound that you hear in words like thin or through.
Okay.
Okay, thin, through. And the is as in the words then or there. Okay, so
Okay.
the and the are, sorry, there. So, the and the. The and the. These are two sounds that are classified as dental fricatives. Okay?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Huh. Okay, no problem. Okay, any other questions, anyone? Okay, so you can take a look at this table again once I share the documents with you. This gives you like a classification, or maybe say not classification, it gives you sort of examples with each of the words here. So you can take this as a template and then build on this, taking cues from how and what kind of words have been used for each of the sounds in the table, right? So someone was asking about je. So here it's leisure, right? So you can find a few more from your part and then add to this, right? Say at least 5 or 6 should be enough, not more than that. By 5 or 6 will give you an enough flavor of each of the sound. That's fine. So this you can use as a template for it when you're looking out for distinct sounds. Then this is the last part in this, which is the voiced and the unvoiced. Okay, again, this is a sound quality, like we discussed the long and the short vowel and the various articulators with respect to their place and manner for consonants. Another feature for consonant sounds are the voiced and the voiceless distinction. Unvoiced, some people would call it voiceless, some people would say unvoiced, same thing. But what is voiced? Okay, you call a particular consonant voiced when there is a vibration in your vocal cord as you produce it. Okay, as the sound is produced. So remember, for every voiced sound, there will be a voiceless pair along with it, right? So there will be one voiced and then will be then another voiceless along with it. So can you tell me something about p and b? What are they? What kind of sounds are they? A, as manner of articulation, they are stops. And as places of articulation, based on place of articulation, they are also bilabial sounds, right? So upper and lower lips both are involved in the production. So bilabial sounds, p and b, distinction of voiced and voiceless is p is voiceless, b is voiced. How do you understand this? You can say p and then say b. Just wrap your hands, your palm around the neck region and try saying p and b. When you say b, you will feel an additional vibration in your vocal cord, in your throat region, right? So that vibration felt is because of the vibration of the vocal cord, which is located in there, okay, the voice box. So distinction is basically this, okay, voiced and voiceless. You can ask, why is this important? This is important, again, with respect to how you pronounce a word, right? When you look at plural markers and past tense markers and all in the, classes that would come later, you'll understand why the voiced and the voiceless distinction is important, right? The idea is the plural markers like sir, or the past tense markers like the d sound, right? They change according to the voice quality of the sounds. So depending on whether the sound that the last sound in a word is voiced or voiceless, the markers that get along with them also change. For voiceless sounds, you will mostly have voiceless markers. For voice sounds, you will have voice markers. Okay. So we'll discuss it while we do that. Then I don't want to give you all those details right away. But if you're wondering, why am I looking at this? Why is this distinction important for us to understand? The reason is this. Okay. Because it has got implications for the way we speak and the way we pronounce words in English. Okay. And because we are talking about pronunciation, and that we also get questions on which variety of English. Okay. Answer to that is any variety that is distinctly understood by anybody. Okay. So we do not ask people to follow accent A or accent B, right? The reason being, a lot of us being adults, we have our physiology is matured, okay, or our vocal tract is matured, and if you try to ape a sound, it is almost impossible, and it is too much of work for nothing. So do not try to copy anybody's accent, accent A or accent B. Just try to improve on the clarity of the sounds that you produce. Okay, try to improve on the clarity so that there is better understanding on the part of the listener, right? Besides that, you don't have to try hard to ape anyone's accent. That is not required. The universally accepted pronunciation for English is called as received pronunciation. And luckily, the Indian English is very close to the way RP is done. So we don't have to bother too much about it. But if you have problems with respect to speaking and making people understand clearly what you're saying, then please use these distinctions, these several things that we've discussed in the class to improve on them. But please do not make it a point to ape or copy or imitate any accent. That is not required. Okay. Okay. So this is all we have to talk about in this one. Now, we'll be doing a short exercise for today's class, again based on identification of sounds. I'm closing this particular tab. I'll share the activity sheet with you. Meanwhile, if you have any questions, you may ask them as well. I will share the document in. Yeah, Sham, please go ahead.
Yeah, ma'am. When we spell the word comb, C-O-M-B,
C-O-M-B. Okay.
yeah, ma'am. Are we spelling the letter E at the last, ma'am?
The letter C-O-M-B, right? Or C-O-M-E?
C-O-M-B, ma'am. Comb.
B. Oh, are we articulating the sound B at the end? Is that what the question is?
Yeah, ma'am. But we spell E, no, ma'am. Comb. Like home, H-O-M-E.
Oh, you
Spell
see, is the word you're trying to tell me C-O-M-E or C-O-M-B?
C-O-M-B, ma'am.
Okay. And your question is whether you articulate the last sound B. Is it?
No, ma'am. Is it, do we articulate it as the word home, H-O-M-E?
No,
Means
no, no,
the
no.
last letter is E, no, ma'am. In home.
Okay. Oh, you're asking me whether the pronunciation for comb and home are similar to each other. Is
Yeah,
it?
ma'am. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. It is. Okay. So C-O-M-B is comb and H-O-M-E is again home. Right. That's
Then
right.
there is no letter E in the word comb, no, ma'am. Then why do we spell
We are
it?
not concerned with letters. Why should we bother with letters? We are only looking at sounds, right? Again, I think this is also something that we've already been telling you that we don't have a one-on-one correspondence between the spellings, which means the letters that you see in the words may have got nothing to do with the actual sounds present in the word, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So we don't have to bother with that. Whether E or any other letter, it really doesn't matter. For that matter, if you have seen words in English, there are also a set of things called silent letters. Nobody knows what that means.
Yes, ma'am.
Right? So why do we have there the silent letters that you see there? Like, for example, you have a word like pneumonia. It starts with P. You nowhere hear the word P in that word. It starts with N. So what is the relevance of a sound like, the letter P there? We do not know. But all we can say is that since English has a lot of loan words, it has borrowed from different languages. So the orthography is a little messed up. It might have been directly taken off from a certain language. And the reforms in spelling may not have been done in order to agree with the one in English, which is why you will see such discrepancies. But that has got nothing to do with how you learn the sounds. So don't look at the spellings. It is very misleading. If you start looking at the spellings and then try to, recollect the sounds, then you're going to definitely go wrong, which is why just focus on the sounds. Okay.
Okay, madam.
Okay. All right. Trying to share this doc with you. You see this? They're very
Thank you, ma'am.
small. Okay, no problem. It's a very short activity. If you've understood the sounds clearly, you should be able to do this. Now, since you're not very well versed with the symbols, the phonetic transcription, I'll say the sounds. I'll articulate the sounds for you. You just give me the answer based on the sound that you hear out of me. Okay. So the first one here is identification of the long vowels and the short vowels in the words given here. So I'll just articulate those words. You listen to the words carefully and tell me whether you have a long or a short vowel in each of them. Okay. First one is cup. Cup.
Short vowel.
Okay. Short vowel. Okay. Everyone, no confusion. First one is cup. The vowel sound is a and it's a short vowel. Okay. Next is sheet.
Long vowel.
Long vowel. Long vowel, right? And in case you find this thing in the exam for short vowel and long vowel, I'm just trying to, just make you aware of this. If you see the letter followed by a colon, 2 dots, then it indicates long vowel. What you can also see instead of this symbol is two eyes, right? If you see I, right, that is also an indicator of a long vowel. So, for example, you have a question like, okay, nothing comes to me as of now, but just keep this in mind. Okay, if you, in case you see this symbol, then that letter followed by the colon is a long vowel, or instead of this, people can also use two I's or two O's or two U's, right? All of them stand for long vowel, just to keep you in loop. Okay, so then the third word you have is book.
Short. Short one.
Short vowel.
Short vowel. Then you have pen.
Short
Pen.
Short vowel.
Short vowel A,
Short.
right? Correct. Next one is curd.
Short
Curd.
one.
Long vowel.
See,
Long
what did I
vowel.
tell you? Right. Even in the symbol, you will have the two dots or the colon. So a long vowel, but even otherwise, see, listen to this note: cup, sheet, or see, cup, book, pen, curd. There is definitely a long vowel in this, right? It's not because I am, purposefully making it long. Even otherwise, you can say this to yourself and say, curd has a long vowel. Then the next one is daughter.
Long
Daughter.
Long
Long vowel.
vowel.
Okay. See, the distinction is you say daughter and then you say pot. Pot, daughter. Pot, daughter. Right? You see the difference, right? Pot has a short vowel, whereas in daughter you see that there is the length of the vowel is a little more than that you see in pot. So daughter is a word with a long vowel.
Long
Fruit.
vowel.
Correct.
Long
Correct.
vowel.
Fruit, long vowel. Okay, fruit again, long vowel. So say book and fruit. Book, fruit. You don't say fruit. You say fruit, right? So fruit has a long vowel. Packet,
Small. Short.
short vowel.
Small vowel.
Short, not small vowel, short vowel. Okay, short vowel.
Yes, ma'am.
Packet is a sound, short vowel. Then comes car,
Long.
car,
Long
vowel.
vowel.
Long vowel. Okay, car has long vowel. Next is coat,
Short
Short vowel.
vowel.
short vowel. So cot, daughter, cot, daughter. Try to draw the distinction and see, you'll understand it easier. Okay, short vowel. And then next comes fit, fit,
Short vowel.
short vowel. Okay, short vowel. And the last one is again,
Short vowel.
short vowel. Okay, so this is the schwa vowel which appears in the beginning of the word again. Okay, again, short vowel again. Okay, next one. Match the words with the correct vowels. Okay, this one, let's see this. The first vowel sound is a. Which among the words you see on the left-hand side would go with it? Which one is it?
Ma'am, right beside the just.
Which one? So which sound? The first sound is and the word which carries that sound is just. Now, second one is what? The long o. Which word in the list here?
Born.
Born.
Born. Yeah, correct. Born. Right? B-O-R-N, born. This is the word which carries the long vowel o. When you say born, do you hear the sound r? No, right? It's only born. So you have b, o, and n, the long o and n. It is why advisable always to not go by the spellings, right? Just look at what you can hear while you say the word born. Okay, now third one is a. Which word carries a sound? A.
Just.
Just.
Jest. Okay, jest. That carries a, not just, jest. The fourth word. in the list. Jet. Next one is the long which word?
rough,
Rough. No, ma'am. Curt.
Cart.
Kurt, yes. Kurt is one. Another example, there's one more. Kurt is yes, definitely one.
Ma'am, cart.
Burn.
No, not Kurt. Kurt,
Burn.
C-U-R-T is correct. There's another one that should come.
burn,
Burn, right? The first word you see here, burn. Burn is also an example of that. So Kurt, C-U-R-T, Kurt, the third word and the first word, burn and Kurt. Then the next one is oo. Oo.
Roof. Roof.
roof,
Oo. It's a short vowel, oo.
Rough.
Should, yes, correct. Someone said it. Should. Okay. Oo is a short vowel. So should.
Wood.
Which one? In the list, we only have should, no? Or do we have anything else? No, I think only should.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Okay,
only
right.
should have. Okay, next is E. Long E.
Beach.
beach,
Beach.
Beach. Beach, ma'am.
Yes, beach. Beach.
Beach.
Next
Beach. Beach also, ma'am.
That is pitch.
Which one? No, not pitch, only beach.
Yeah, it
That
is
has
beach.
the long. Next is O, the short O sound.
Rough.
Rough.
No,
Rough.
no.
Born. Born.
Born, does it have short O sound? It has long O sound, born.
Oh, yeah.
We don't have any word. Okay. The word with the O sound is missing here. We don't have any. None of the sounds here, none of the words here have the O sound. Okay. Next is oo. Long oo.
Roof. Roof.
roof,
Roof, correct.
Roof.
Roof.
Oh,
Roof is correct. The long ah sound next. Ah.
Cart.
cart,
Cart. Cart. Correct.
Cart.
Cart. Cart. Then comes next one is the schwa sound.
rough,
Any? No, that is a. Rap is a. The first sound that you see here. Again, this one is
There
not
is no.
included. Okay.
Yes, yes.
Which one?
Burn.
We don't
No,
have
ma'am,
any.
the word is not available there.
Word is not available. We don't have anything here. So for O and O, the schwa sound, we haven't included anything. Last one here is E. E sound.
Pitch.
pitch,
Pitch.
Pitch.
Pitch. Correct. Pitch is your word for the last sound E. One more in this. Write down the corresponding vowels in each of the words below. Now you tell me Urvashi, you have a question?
Ma'am, please give example for sound schwa.
Okay, fine. Take these examples. Words like this. Again. Or rise. Or words like speaker. Okay, in speaker, the last sound is schwa. S, P, E, K, and speaker. Or brother. Teacher. All of them. Midway, you have another word like sofa. The last sound is schwa sound. Sofa. Not sofa. We say sofa, but it's actually sofa. Okay, sofa. Get this?
Yeah, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Okay, so this one, the exercise here. So where did it go? Okay. First one, float. Which vowel sound? Float.
o,
Do you have a pure vowel here in float? FLOUT is the spelling.
No, ma'am.
But
Not pure.
No, ma'am.
so what do you have here then?
Our sound.
Sorry?
Sound is our.
FLOUT. Okay, so how do you say float or flout or how is it?
Flout. I would say flout.
And flow.
Float.
Flout, right? It is flout. So what do you have?
O and
O sound.
Oh.
Our
O
Flout
sound.
is A and U. So which means you have a diphthong here, right? Ow, flout. Okay. Then the next one is BOUGH. How do you say that?
Bow.
Correct. Then what is the sound there then?
again our.
Again ow. Again ow. Bow. Right? Again you have a diphthong bow. Correct. Okay. Next. Shell. Shell.
Shell.
Shell.
A.
Sound is?
A sound.
Vowel is?
A sound.
A sound.
A.
A
A
sound.
sound. Right? Correct. Yeah. Shale. Shale.
A.
Long
Again
A.
A sound.
No,
A.
I.
Again you have
Long
diphthong,
A.
right? So you have A and E combination. A. Shale sound.
A.
A.
Okay. Shale.
Yes.
A, which is a diphthong again. A-E. Okay. Next is float. FLOAT. This is again a very
O.
special one. Do you have O here?
O.
Float.
O.
Float.
Yes, ma'am. O sound.
Similar to boat.
O.
BOAT. So not
Yes.
boat. What do you say? Boat.
Boat. Boat.
Similarly, float.
Float.
So you don't have O sound, right? No, this is again a diphthong, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Again a diphthong. So you have the O, diphthong
O
O.
sound.
Okay,
O.
and O, float, boat, close, go. All of them have same thing. Let me actually write it down so that you can have some. So BOAT, this one, and the one that we just saw, float. Then you have go. Then you have close, or even words like open. Okay, all these words, boat, float, go, close, open, all of them have this diphthong O. It's not O. Okay.
O.
Correct. The
Date.
next one is date.
Date.
Date. So again,
A.
I.
A sound.
diphthong, right? Diphthong. A. Bite. Next one, bite.
I.
I. Diphthong again, I.
Bite.
Next
Kite.
one is pot.
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 O.
Awesome.
Go.
Awesome.
O sound.
O.
Next comes
Next
boy.
boy also. Oi. Oi
Boy.
sound.
Correct. Oi, diphthong. Chore. Chore.
Sure.
How do you say this word? Important. CHORE. Just tell me
O sound.
short vowel, long vowel, or a diphthong. Chore.
long vowel.
Long vowel. Long vowel.
Long vowel?
Sure.
Yes. It's
Yes,
a long vowel. Okay. Chore. Correct. Chore. Then comes next is cheer.
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 Long
So in cheer again, see the r sound is not articulated.
Long
Okay. So
vowel.
we'll cheer.
It can be long
Not a long vowel. It's a diphthong, right? Cheer. E and Cheer.
Cheer.
Cat. Next is cat.
Cat.
Sound. Correct. And what is it? It's a short vowel. Next is
Short
hat.
vowel.
Same. Hat
Hat.
is
Yes,
what?
ma'am. Same.
Right. Has sound. Whisk.
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 E.
E.
E. Small
Shorty.
vowel. A short vowel. Short.
Correct. Shorty. West. West.
West.
Hmm.
Small. Short vowel.
A.
Short vowel.
Short vowel A. Then the next one again. This is also important. Coat. Coat.
Coat.
Ma'am, diphthong.
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 Right? Do you see a pattern?
Diphthong.
This OA combination in words, no, all of them are diphthongs. Boat, float, coat. See this?
Yes.
Huh.
Flow.
Yeah, this is not like a shock, foolproof thing. You cannot go ahead and say that, okay, all OA combinations in spelling will be O. But you'll see that this is followed in most of that
Yeah, most of them are
spellings. Okay, most of them will have it. So, coat.
Yes.
Again, diphthong here.
Sand.
Okay, sand. Sand.
Ma'am, long vowel.
Short vowel.
No. Short vowel,
Sand.
right?
Long.
Sand.
Short vowel.
Huh.
Yes.
Ma'am,
Short vowel.
what is the sound
Next.
in sand, ma'am?
As sound. Sand.
as sound.
Ah. Hmm.
So
Then
it's a
come-
long vowel.
No, it's not. This is similar to the
Sand.
sound you hear in cat and hat, no?
Yes, ma'am.
Sand. Sir, and
Short vowel.
short vowel. Okay. Then pool.
Pool.
Long
Pool.
Long
Long.
vowel.
Long.
Long
Pool.
vowel and long pool. Correct. Pull. Next is pull.
Short vowel.
Short vowel.
Seems like
Oh.
sport.
Short vowel.
Full. Oh.
Then comes send.
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 Short vowel.
Send.
Short vowel.
Short
Short
vowel.
vowel A. Right? Short vowel A.
A.
Hut. Hut.
Short vowel. A
Short
sound.
again.
A sound. Correct. That's correct. So that's a short vowel.
Coat.
Last one is
Coat. O.
Coat.
O sound.
Long. Long.
Ma'am, diphthong.
O sound. You tell me long or short or diphthong. That is what I'm looking for.
Diphthong.
Long.
Diphthong.
Diphthong.
Is it a diphthong? Coat.
Yes,
How
Do you say
ma'am.
coat? Do you say coat or do you say coat? High court.
Coat.
Coat.
Supreme Court.
High
Coat.
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 Coat or coat.
Little R sound is there.
No. Forget about the R sound. We don't want to look at the consonants. And anyway, that is not articulated here. Our idea is to understand the vowel sounds better, right? That's what we're looking at.
Yes,
So does
ma'am.
coat have
Diphthong.
long vowel, or does it have a diphthong, or does it have a short vowel?
Oh.
Ma'am, diphthong.
Long vowel, no, not a diphthong. Okay,
Long
it has a long
vowel.
vowel. It's coat. Coat, not coat. You don't say
Coat.
coat. You say
O.
high coat, right? High
Long
coat,
O
high
sound
coat.
is there, no?
Yeah, long
Ma'am,
vowel.
there is long O sound.
Long O sound. Yes,
But
right.
it
Long
has
vowel.
little bit of a sound too, like court.
Sorry.
I'm saying that it is having a
Huh.
little bit of a sound at last too, like court.
A sound at the
It's having
end. I
just
don't
sound.
have
No,
any A
ma'am.
sound.
No, ma'am. O sound
No,
nahi.
there is no
sound
A
nahi.
sound
It
in
has
this for
no
sure.
sound at the last.
No A sound at the end. We only have K, the O, the long O sound, and then the T. Coat.
Long O
That's all.
sound.
That's all. Nothing else. No other thing. That R that you see in the spelling is also not articulated. You don't hear that at all. Okay. So it's coat. That's all. Okay. Fine. That's all. And I just left 2 questions here for you to try and deduce pattern in the spellings of words when it has a short vowel and when it has a long vowel. This is a question that was asked again in the session, how do I identify long and short vowel? So this is just for the sake of answering the questions. Again, take this with a pinch of salt, take this with a caution. You may not see this being applicable to all the words you see in English, but some of them will definitely follow this. So if your consonant is completely, the name of the letter is completely said in the word, then most probably the vowel involved is a long vowel. So for example, the question you were asking, remedy, right? The last sound that you hear, the vowel sound is a long vowel because you hear
D
what?
sound.
D.
Long.
You hear the sound D. The consonant sound, the letter. Okay, not consonant sound, sorry. The letter that you have in remedy, D. It is completely heard, right? It's fully said, D. energy. Okay. So if the letter is completely spelled while you say, pronounced while you say, then most probably the vowel sound there is a long vowel. But if it is halfway through, like say pen, something like that, then it's a short vowel. Okay, this is just a thing for you. If it is a little easier for you to answer the questions, please take this. But this is only for the sake of that. This has got nothing to do with the learning part. Okay. All right. Yeah, you can maybe look at this question if you're interested. So this was what I meant by looking at it. Try and read a little bit about it. Don't read too much. Just, just a surface level reading should be enough. See if you can deduce a pattern. Not a compulsory exercise. It's only for people who are interested in looking at this. Okay. That's all. Any questions that you have? We'll look at consonant clusters a little later. Maybe next class.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. No problem. Urvashi, you have a question. I see your hand raised.
Yeah, ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am, in again and arise, where is the swa sound?
The first sound in the words rise and again.
Ma'am, please pronounce these two words.
So that's the problem with Shwa. It's called an unstressed vowel because of it. It's barely heard while you say, which is why it is unstressed. Okay. So you consider this as a short form of the sound that you hear in the word curd or earth, right? E-A-R-T-H, earth, right? So the Shwa is a shorter form of that sound. Difficult to pronounce because it's because it's unstressed, almost inaudible. So again, rise, okay, speaker, teacher, right? So these are the words. So this is the way you can articulate. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Karan? No problem. Karan, you have a question?
Ma'am, is it Wednesday or Wednesday?
It's Wednesday.
Wednesday.
It's Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Okay.
Wednesday.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah. Karan? Karan, I see your hand.
Yeah, ma'am. I was asking D as it is consonant, but it has E sound at the last. Like
Which
D.
word?
As you said at that time, a word has ending with D, but it has a vowel ending with E. E sound.
You tell me the word.
I can't remember this number.
Okay.
Karan, tell the word for the reference.
Yeah. He can't remember is what he said. Because I don't understand the question. At least if I hear the word, maybe I can deduce. What is it ending with E? Okay. Maybe you're referring to remedy and energy. Is it that?
Yes, ma'am. Remedy.
What
It has
about
sound
that? What question?
D. It has a consonant sound ending with D, but it has a vowel sound that is E.
No, it is not ending with the consonant sound. The, right? The consonant sound is the in remedy, and the sound with which the word remedy ends is the vowel sound E, and that E is a long E. We deduced it as long E. I was just letting people understand so that they can answer in the exam. I told you this is not like a proper explanation or it has got nothing to do with the learning part. This is just to help people understand. A lot of people get confused about which one is a long vowel and which one is a short one. So usually if your whole letter, not the consonant sound, letter is articulated, like in remedy, you say remedy, right? D is fully said. So if that is the case, then the vowel sound followed with that would be a long vowel. That is all I said.
Okay, ma'am.
So in remedy, you have also a short E sound, no? Like after ma, re, mi, di. In ma, can you completely say ma sound there? Do you say m? You can't do that, right? Whereas in the case
Yes,
of
ma'am.
d, you are
Yes.
saying d. That entirely is there. So if that is the case in a word, if you can completely say the name of the letter, okay, don't get confused, not the sound, the name of the letter entirely, then the the vowel sound following it would be usually a long vowel. But that's not the case with me, right? Which is why that is a short, not which is why. So you usually don't see a short vowel in such combinations. Only when the letter can completely be said with its name, you have a long vowel. That's what. This was like a
Yeah,
short
thank you, ma'am.
method to understand it. That's all. I mean, it's got nothing to do with the actuality of the sounds or learning. Okay. Okay. All right.
Okay, ma'am.
No problem. No issues. We'll close for today. If you have no more questions, we'll meet again. Next class, we'll discuss consonant clusters and a little bit on the parts of speech. Okay?
Okay, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Thank you so
Thank
Ma'am,
much,
you very
Thank
much.
you,
everyone.
ma'am.
We'll see you
Thank you.
again.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you.
See you.
See you.
ma'am, where you upload these slides?
Slides are uploaded only after the classes are done under the supplementary tab section for your course.
After all classes or 2 days class and then?
No, not all classes. Usually we do that after each class gets over.
But ma'am, it is not available at that.
It is not available because this class is not over. We have to do that only once the session is done. No, there's no point of uploading it before that.
Okay, yes, I got
Yeah.
it.
Yes, yes.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. All right, everyone. See you next week. Thank you so much for joining.